Hello and welcome to the A.D.H.Deep-Dive, the show that's not about ADHD, but is filled with proof it exists. My name is David J. Mund, and I am joined this week by my former youth pastor, current friend, as long as he plays his cards right.
So hopefully we were friends before, too.
Fig Vandermolen. Now, Fig, I'm going to hit you with a heavy hitter right off the bat.
Okay.
You're a Christian.
I am.
Okay. A lot of what I want to talk to you today about is a Christian's take on some of the things that I find personally fascinating.
Great.
And I feel like if I were to engage with, maybe it's not fair to say many, some Christians, a lot of the response to the questions or the topics that I want to talk about are, listen, God's plan is bigger than I am capable of wrapping my mind around. And that is a totally suitable answer. For the sake of the fact that I think we're both creative guys, I would love you to just like, maybe not play along, but like, if there is space to like conjecture about something a little bit, even if it is part of a plan bigger than you are capable of understanding, I would love to just workshop some of that stuff.
Sure. I'll
Okay.
give it a try.
So first and foremost, yeah, this is like a creative exercise.
Wow.
I'm going to hit you with a heavy hitter.
I don't do a lot of creative exercise, apparently.
Well, here we go. And
I don't do a lot of exercise, actually. I'm plenty creative. I don't do a lot of exercise.
Well, first and foremost, thank you for picking up Celsius.
You know, it occurs to me just now, you were doing your intro and I didn't want to distract you. It's called Peach Vibe, but it's like beach vibe. It's like a play on words, don't you think? It's got like a palm tree. Peaches don't grow on trees like that.
That is true.
I wondered. So I don't know much about... I'm
not a big peach guy.
Yeah.
So...
I'm not a big beach guy, so I don't know much... you know, in general about it, but I was like, oh, that's clever.
Is it peachy?
Yeah, it's got a good peach flavor to it, I think. I don't know.
My understanding is Fig is not a big caffeine guy. And so we'll see how you feel at the end of this.
I don't drink a lot of coffee normally,
sure.
But my wife's sister, this is terrible.
No, this is podcast fodder. I'm here for this.
My wife's sister, who randomly like wins a lot of stuff. She's like one of those kind of people, like in contests or radio things and whatever. She just wins a lot, which good for her. I'm not jealous. But jealous. She won like an espresso, like an at-home little espresso machine, like the K-cup of espresso machine, kind of a deal. Okay. You have to like pack the espresso in, put like a tin lid on it, but then it like punctures it, steams it, whatever. Anyhow, and then she won a second one, so we got the old one.
So
I've started drinking espresso or latte espressos or whatever, and they're not terrible.
Have you gotten to the point where you feel like your morning is worse if you don't have one?
No, because I don't have them every morning anyway.
Okay.
But also, I realized the reason I probably never had that before wasn't the flavor. It was just, it was expensive, and I'm way too Dutch for that. But like now that it's here,
way too Dutch for that.
Now that it's here, I was like, oh, this isn't so bad.
No.
Because it's not that expensive.
This is about double and a half what that would be.
You're talking about caffeine amount and the dollar amount.
Yeah. Well, but that is true. The dollar amount as well.
Just saying. And it's got a much flashier can.
Yeah, I mean, it's an energy drink at its core.
Sure.
So they're trying to hook the youth. And they're doing it. I'm not the youth anymore, but they've got me.
You're hooked.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a punk house. It's a punk home. You can find this banner and others like it, as well as this silly goose on the loose hat, these etched mirrors, these custom charm bracelets, and so much more by heading to Cat and Crew, that's KATANDCREW.com, and entering the promo code Monday, that's MUNDAY, for 10% off your first purchase. Katie and Andrew, one of the first supporters of this show, have made a 10% discount available for A.D.H.Deep-Dive listeners. See store for details, of course, but they've got so many cool punk home products, decor. You don't have to be a punk. That's okay. That's all right. Tattoos for your home, koozies, wall banners. So again, if you want this is not a punk house, this is a punk home banner. If you want this silly goose on a loose hat, if you want etched mirrors, if you want custom charm bracelets, so much more, go to Cat and Crew, KATANDCREW.com, enter the promo code Monday, that's MUNDAY, for 10% off your first purchase. Thank you very much to Katie and Andrew for sponsoring the show. Let's get back to the podcast. Okay.
Good interruption.
Thanks.
That was pleasant.
That's fine. The show that's not about ADHD, but is filled with proof it exists.
I'm glad to be a part of that.
Okay, so we're just gonna hit a vague one.
Okay.
Is there specific text, and if you can't reference a specific text, that's fine as well. Is there room in the Christian theology for the existence of aliens or non-Earth life? Because I imagine, again, while the answer would be it's bigger than I understand, it's certainly bigger than I understand because right now there's no definitive proof. But could you strong arm the case for the existence of non-Earth life given the Christian frame?
Yeah, I mean, definitely there is all through the Bible non-Earth life.
Yeah?
Yeah, like
sure.
Angels. Yeah, I mean, that's a real thing, I think. And so their existence would be non-Earth. So in that sense, absolutely.
Sure.
If you're talking about,
the floating dude in the UFO on my neck.
Yeah. Sure, there'd be room for that in Christian theology. I don't think that would be opposed to who God would be. I don't think that there's like a secret code in the Bible that if I crack that, then as it turns out, I could tell you what planet they were living on or anything like that.
Sure.
Like it wouldn't have to be a part of the theology that I believe in, but it doesn't exclusively have to not be a part of it.
Would you, given all the evidence that we have right now, just as earthly beings, acknowledge that there is or is not any evidence for the existence of non-Earth life, like in sort of the sci-fi type of way, like
SETI we're talking about or whatever else?
Sure.
So you're saying
the search for extraterrestrial intelligence? That
I only know
almost exclusively from Rhett and Link videos.
That's right, me too. It must exist because they made a video about it.
Yeah.
With what was his name?
SETI is a program.
No, I know it is, but there was
Canadian,
another guy. Yeah, a Canadian guy.
Yeah.
That was so funny. He lost his keys
Canada.
and whatever. Yeah, it was so funny. We still do that.
Dang.
We still quote that.
That's awesome.
Anyway, enough about live action role playing games. That was in there too.
That's true.
So you're saying, do I think that there are aliens existing in space?
Well, let's bring it out. Okay. So again, this might sound like I'm not pandering. This might sound like I'm I don't know. Teasing's not the word either. Let's start just to understand your understanding. Sure. We exist on a planet.
Yes, we do.
Which exists in a solar system.
I agree.
Right? Based around
the solar system, in fact, not a solar system.
Okay, that's actually interesting to me.
Because our sun's name is Sol. Solar.
Okay.
Right?
Right. Okay.
I mean, that's why it is the solar system, I think. But I know
probably. Okay. For my tiny pea brain.
I don't mean it's the solar system because we're the center of the universe and all that. I don't mean that.
But this is more just like I'm just asking questions about something. I want to know what your thoughts are.
Sure.
That's still helpful information.
Sure.
Is that we've gotten to the point where we know that Earth is not the center of the universe. So there is a conceit that there is a greater universe, more planets, the possibility of life on those planets.
Absolutely.
Okay. And there's space for that to be intelligent, conscious life?
For sure, I would say.
Yeah.
I would say you're going to be hard-pressed for any Christian or non-Christian scientist concerned with it.
To say definitively.
That life is present within our solar system's planets.
That's fine.
You know? Like, I think we're probably pretty safe to say there's not, like, secretly life on Mars at this point.
Right.
You know? That kind of thing.
Right.
But, sure. There could absolutely be millions of planets with life on them throughout the universe. I don't think that that's opposed at all to what the Bible says. So
much of an earthly Christian's view of the world is based around what is in the Bible.
Sure.
I have to imagine that your expectation would be that there would not be the Earth Bible on, because it would be a different sort of unfolding of circumstances, right?
Impossible to know, but sure.
Sure.
You know, I mean, the question behind the question you're asking is, would the aliens in some other planet, in some other solar system, be humans just like us?
Mm-hmm.
Would they be little green men,
right,
etc.? You know, do I think if God made living beings on other planets that were little green men, that he went to their planet as a little green man?
Right.
I don't know.
That's kind of that's like the basis of this like rabbit hole.
Yeah.
It's like I as a person who would love there to be the existence of aliens, who has played with conspiracy theories that they're here, and not only are they here, but they run our government, and it's a secret, whatever. I don't believe that at this point. It's more, again, this is a creative exercise. But like,
I understand there's people who believe that.
That's fascinating to me, that if you know, the whatever, running with the Bible's interpretation of how life unfolded here, given like the prophet of it all, how would that unfold on another planet, I wonder?
No idea.
Right.
I would say this. I'll give you some anti-alien content.
This is a psyop, man.
I would be shocked if I would, as a Christian, I believe, be shocked if aliens came to Earth and told me about the God I believe in.
Right.
I feel that the God I believe in has revealed himself to me and humanity already.
Sure.
Why? And there's none of that. There's nothing in that revelation to make me think I need to know more from another source off this planet or whatever.
Do you acknowledge?
So I don't think another planet's worth of life that was created by the same God I believe in would have sort of like the next piece of some weird missing cosmic puzzle that we're all trying to galactically work together to solve or whatever.
If it's not the next piece, would you, I mean, the way that I would look at that is that at least it adds some piece of the puzzle, because right now, as far as we know, we are the only intelligent, as we know it, conscious beings. And wouldn't that be fascinating from a secular or Christian view to know that we're not?
Oh yeah, absolutely fascinating.
Like, it's not something that I necessarily root for, because if they are beings with malintent, that could be scary.
You wouldn't want that?
No. But like, yeah. Okay, see? Creative exercise. We're doing it.
Love it.
Now, in the same vein.
Great.
Are you, or the small C church, or the big C church, having conversations about artificial intelligence? Like the artificial intelligence that we're creating here in a way that, like, again, let's go to the furthest extent of this, the dystopia of it all. Like, there are countries and companies competing to create the first artificial general intelligence that does not need human programming or interaction with. It just exists as a new existence of consciousness. Is there any conversation happening in the church about that?
You talking about like how that matters, like theologically or whatever, or just
that's where the conversation
like
would go.
FYI, did you know that's happening?
Well, starting with FYI, did you know that's happening?
Yeah, so different denominations are handling that different ways. Yeah. Generally, a denomination like mine is going to say, let's think about that. They're not going to make some kind of weird sweeping policy, especially not up front, of like, probably AI was Satan's idea and let's not.
That's genuinely what I'm getting to.
Yeah. So our denomination, I don't think AI is a great tool. I use it all the time.
Sure. AI like LLMs, like language learning models, like a ChatGPT or like an assistance AI thing. But like, people, listen, we talked about this a little bit before the podcast. So many human interactions with other beings exist solely via the internet.
Sure, absolutely.
Or text.
There's entire churches now that aren't in person. I don't mean they became digital because of like COVID, though there were congregations who did not meet together during that time, especially, and maybe even still don't, but they had been in person and have become, I mean, there's new churches being planted that only gathered in an online space. The people who participate may not even live in the same state.
Right.
So that absolutely is existing.
Zoom churches.
Yeah, they probably
call it
that.
Yeah,
but yes, that absolutely is happening. Digital spaces.
That is, now I know I led us down that rabbit hole, but that's like internet. The existence of artificial intelligence, like, I imagine, going to some weird end of this conversation here, you would not be super comfortable, even if you acknowledge that this artificial general intelligence exists and is as conscious and feels things like you and me, you wouldn't really love them leading a sermon, right?
So let's talk about large language models. Ask ChatGPT to write you a sermon right now.
Sure.
And they're pretty good.
I imagine.
You can even say things like, include a few jokes. I live in Western Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And it will put in appropriate jokes for the community you live in within the sermon, which is largely pretty accurate in its description of the text.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that is because there's so much of that content
from
available.
data. Right.
You know, so your likelihood of it being accurate is pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
Why we can't get 5 fingers all the time on AI. There's feels like a large amount of 5-fingered material for them to pull from.
Yeah.
And yet that one we're still working on. Oh, it's getting better.
I would concede that it's probably going to be indistinguishable from reality in a just when you see, you can no longer, and now people have been saying this for a decade and a half now, you can no longer trust what you see on the internet.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I think that it should be that way to begin with. We should all go into the internet recognizing that what you see likely is not reflective of reality. But if this artificial general intelligence exists in our understanding of reality, what do we do with that? Again, maybe in a secular way or a Christian way, recognizing that now we're not really like top of the food chain, really, because if they can shut down grids, and I know I'm going to like a dystopian, apocalyptic, like weird way, it could be, you know.
Did you just watch Tron Ares or something?
No, but it could. I'm just saying it could. We've seen enough sci-fi films where the AI takes over the bodies of the robots, which we are creating, and wipes out humanity. Like, was that included in the end times? Your prophecy is like.
So, I'll just try and put on my Christian hat to answer the question.
Please, you are the resident Christian in the room.
Yeah, I'm working that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. My guess, and I'm certainly not in the top whatever
we're
percentage.
Only guessing.
That's why I said I'm working that out.
Yep.
My guess would be it either won't get that bad,
or it will,
because Jesus could just come back.
Sure.
Yeah. Or it won't really change the way that my human condition still needs saving and can achieve that through the sacrifice of Christ. Jesus didn't die. I'll make a bold claim here.
There's more. Jesus didn't die.
Jesus did die. Jesus did not die and give his life as a sacrifice for a created general intelligence of the future.
Sure.
In my opinion.
Okay.
Because that's not a human.
Sure. Now, is there room in just your... Listen, I am the furthest. We already talked about how I don't understand memes or TikTok anymore, right? So I don't understand technology. This is just, spitballing based on the information that we've already declared you can't trust, right? There's like a growing, mind you, it's based in the billionaire population, ability to like sort of forego death, right? Like medicine's getting better, you can extend the lifespan, all these different stuff that people are injecting into their bodies, people are living longer or whatever. There's sci-fi at this point that says you can take a human consciousness and put it into a non-human body. So I'm 150 years old, I'm on my deathbed, but I want to keep living. We can take my consciousness and put it into a body. First of all, do you think that's even possible?
Great question. Who knows?
Right. Can I lead you down a path here?
Let me give it a stab first.
Sure. Okay.
I'm the victim of a terrible car accident.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry to hear that.
I know.
Yep.
And my arm is gone.
Ooh.
And that doesn't make me less of a person, in my opinion.
Right.
I mean, there's going to be jokes
about
about
You are less
that.
of a person.
Right. But my personhood is not diminished by that, in my opinion.
That's fine. I agree.
Now, people are going to definitely have... People in a similar boat might definitely have... You can't say might definitely, can you?
You might
definitely have, let's say they also get scarred, right? Like their self-image is damaged. Like there's issues to process there if you lose an arm. And I'm not trying to diminish that.
To our one-armed community.
You never know. Okay. But what I'm saying is generally that person's personhood is not based only on the existence of them having both of their arms.
Right.
In my opinion. That leads me to think that, boy, someone's personhood could go through a whole lot of changes and they're still a person. Now, the difference between what you're talking about keeping my consciousness going some other way than we're used to it going.
Well, sorry, can I back you up and say, are you then saying that the existence of a person is in the consciousness?
If you put my brain into a computer to keep me alive.
Mm-hmm. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying put your brain into a robot body.
If you put my brain into a robot body to keep me alive,
right,
that would still be me that you're putting in there.
Right.
And at some point, that's still my personhood.
Okay.
And I'm defining myself as my personhood. And my body or a body is being kept alive in the physical sense by technology.
So that
doesn't necessarily bother me, but I think that's distinct from what you're talking about, the GI or whatever, the general.
AGI, yeah.
Yeah, AGI, okay. Yep. Where that's not a person in the same way first that got put into something that's technologically keeping their consciousness going.
Right.
That's a separate consciousness altogether.
Right.
That's a separate life.
Right.
You know, we're on the doorstep or have already occurred.
Mm-hmm.
We've created separate life distinct in a controlled way.
My end of the road of this part of the conversation is uploading that human consciousness into a robot body, which is likely oftentimes programmed. Now you can, you can push a button to upgrade your body to the new operating system or whatever. You are now fused with artificial intelligence. Does that have any implications for, again, knowing that at the end of your theology, it is rooted in humans are God's chosen
vessel?
Vessel, yes. Does that change anything if we're not the human flesh?
I still think it would be hard to create a human that didn't start as human flesh.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that mind has to exist to transfer to a technological body.
Sure. So
in the first place.
So consciousness exists in the human brain, which exists inside the human body. And you're saying it starts with the consciousness, not with the human body.
Well, I think they're inseparable initially, for sure.
Okay.
You know, pending a car accident later in life and technological advances that lets me stay alive.
Right.
You know, brain from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle style. But I don't know how his brain grew eyes and a mouth.
You've
and stuff.
now gotten outside my window. Wasn't a big TMNT guy.
But it was your age range.
Sure.
That was a great window. You haven't played the new arcade release on the whatever console?
Nah, brother. Not only, again, we talked about before the podcast, not a big TV guy these days.
It's
not a big
TV.
Video game guy these days.
I don't know. I deliberately stopped watching your Don't Starve on the off chance that we would do a Don't Starve together.
Listen,
Pro-Am.
We can still do that.
Okay, let's still do that.
I would love to do that. I just got to a point where I'm like, I'm beating the game. I'm bored.
I stopped watching for the opportunity to later do a Pro-Am. You know everything. I know nothing. Wouldn't that be hysterical?
Oh, interesting.
Because I'd never even made it nearly as far as you clearly made it.
Yes. I would love that. Genuinely, I would love that.
It'd be
funny.
Anyway.
You actually got me to sort of my next point, which is less about like things that I believe, but you had kind of brought up, if I can find the specific note. Where could that possibly be? I don't think I put it on my notes here, but it's definitely on the note on my phone. You said, when we were talking about kind of aliens and AI specifically, that, it's not really going to change the fact that, like, if Jesus comes back, or when Jesus comes back, that it will be like when Jesus comes back, that's when he's coming back. The facts on the ground about aliens and AI doesn't matter to me because he's coming back. And, is there any way, because, people have been proposing since the day he was killed and then rose, that like...
That wasn't the same day.
It was a couple days.
But pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close. It was in the same chapter.
Yeah.
Not the actual chapter. But anyways, is there any way to know, even approximately, when he's coming back?
No way. We all thought it was going to be way before now.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, the people who wrote the text...
They thought it was going to be tomorrow.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't think that 2020... It's 2026 now. That 2026 would even come to pass because it would have all been done by then.
Did they have an annular calendar like that? I don't even think they had that.
The Gregorian calendar was like...
Who's Gregory?
I don't know. He wrote some calendar.
Yeah, he must have.
He's good at charts.
Wasn't that good? It should have had 13 months with one extra International New Year Day. But didn't we talk about that last time?
I don't know. Did we talk about daylight savings?
But think about this.
I'm thinking.
If every month had exactly 28 days, there'd be 13 months exactly and one day.
and one day.
Yeah, so
the
like
day
an international New Year Day global.
I think it was...
Every month would have exactly 4 weeks. Every month would match the moon cycle.
Do you know why? Listen, I'm going to get most of these details wrong. Do you know why that the beginning of the calendar starts in... the beginning of the year starts in January? Something, there was a war.
Okay.
And there was like a mutual understanding.
With a twin or something? That's going to be funny to somebody watching this. They will get that joke. A war with a twin. Keep going.
I don't know.
There was a war, something.
There was a war, and there was a mutual understanding that we do not fight in this period of time, like until the year rolls over. It was like I think something to do with October, because Oct means end or something.
It sure doesn't. Keep going.
Whatever. Anyways, and so whatever, the end of the year was recognized as October, and then there was this period of turnover between October and the end of December, and then January was whatever. So January was deemed as the start of the year because there was to be no fighting until the start of the year. I've gotten many of these details wrong. Anyway, Gregory said it.
So here we go.
Hit me.
Okay.
I have the internet behind me.
I can't wait. If you are...
You vamp.
How old are your parents?
That's a personal question.
Yeah, but they're not
at least
70.
Twice as old. My dad just turned 70.
Okay, so my dad's over 70. Okay. So he's a septuagenarian.
Yep.
And if he turns 80, he'll be a...
Octogenarian.
Octogenarian.
Why?
So September is the 7th month. October is the 8th month. November is the 9th month. December is the 10th month. Did you ever notice that?
I sure did.
And then some Caesar decided, let's add August and July in the months that are more pleasant. And so they kicked the rest of those down. And I thought, how selfish is that? They should have changed their names too.
Interesting. Why
December should have been like December.
Why does the Gregorian calendar start 10 days after the winter solstice? Oh man, there's a whole long thing. Something. Okay, we're gonna vamp here. Here we go.
I'm ready.
I'm just gonna read the paragraph or two, and then I'll get... Yes! Oh, there it is, a war! The consular inaugurations that marked Rome's political rhythm occurred on the Ides of March, the 15th on the Gregorian calendar, and with them came the beginning of the Roman year. This arrangement reflected Rome's agricultural origins. I knew it had something to do with the agriculture. The agricultural origins and military traditions. March, named for Mars, the god of war, signaled the season when armies could resume stomping about after winter's enforced pause. The opening of the military season and the installation of Rome's chief magistrates occurred in natural synchrony. I'm going to read one more paragraph here. I'm going to skip one other one. The Second Celtiberian War, Celtiberian, probably the Celtics, broke out in Hispania in 154 BC, sparked by Roman aggression against the town of Segeda. The Segedans, anticipated Roman hostility, had expanded their town walls and brought neighboring communities under their protection. Rome viewed these actions as violations of their earlier treaties and determined to suppress what they characterized as rebellion. The Senate designated Quintus Fulvius Nobilior as consul for the year 153 BC to command the campaign, but under traditional practice, he could not assume and depart for Hispania until the Ides of March. So take that.
That had nothing to do with January.
The military situation demanded immediate action, yet Rome's political calendar imposed a dangerous delay. If Nobilior waited until the March 15th, 153 BC to take office...
So he had to leave in January, or they had to move that up so he could assume his post in January and then do it.
Yes.
Because it took a while to walk there?
Somewhere based in tradition, he was not allowed to lead the army unless it was the turnover of the new year, which basically sparked, this was pre-democracy, but like... I don't know why I took us there.
A solstice would be an appropriate time to start a new year, wouldn't it? You would think.
Yeah, new year, new me.
Well, in general, I just think it'd be like, it's pretty notable and like calculable. Wow.
Sure.
The days are really long right now.
Right.
Or, wow, the night is really long right now.
Right. Perfect time to
kind of
invade a town.
No, just to start a new year in general.
Well,
if we're going to the 13-month calendar.
Well, so anyways, no way of knowing when he's coming back?
I don't think so.
Do reputable Christian theologians, what's the best way to look at that?
Probably theologians.
Even allow room for conversation about that? Like, or is it just like, we can't be concerned about that? Speculating.
There's all kinds of speculation, I would say. I would say there are...
But is there any subsect of Christians or philosophers or very intelligent people that you deem reputable that go, I think we got a pretty good idea, And if they said, if that doesn't exist, if these people you trust said, I think we got a good idea when he's coming back, would you then chalk them up as crackpots? Or would you go, I think they're onto something?
And maybe I probably would not say I think they're onto something. I probably also wouldn't call them crackpots.
So there's a middle ground.
No, I just think it'd be rude to call them crackpots.
Okay.
The Bible says that it's not knowable.
Okay.
So we shouldn't have to hunt very hard for it to be knowable. Do you see what I'm saying? So if you're in a Christian, I suppose, denomination that's going to say, let's go by what the Bible says about the return of Christ. Even he says he doesn't know when that will be. So there's not a lot of effort that needs to be put into calculating it.
Can you maybe expand on that just from a person who's not well versed in it? What's the origin of even I don't know? Is it just like I haven't decided yet, or is that like?
That's a great question that I don't know all the answers to, but I think that there would be some more debate about interpreting that statement of Christ's than there would be about exactly what year his second coming would be, because that begs the question, like, well, if he was God and he knew everything anyway, wouldn't he already know? Because that seems to be.
You also get down to maybe this is way too vague or way too broad here, but that gets down to like a predestination thing where it's like everything's already written, you know?
Sure. I mean, prophecy is a pretty interesting feature of the Bible. Some of it was prophesied and there were specific times, durations, more than a specific year, because I think at that time, again, at 150 BC,
this is why we were talking about calendars.
They weren't calling it 150 BC.
Right. It was today.
Yeah. Or, you would mark how much time had passed, perhaps by years, but you weren't saying there was a set global system of this is a year zero that we're counting up or down from.
Right.
Every civilization, I suppose, kind of had its own calendar it was working off of. And they were different, obviously. So anyhow, at the Bible times, and perhaps this was a Hebrew thing, perhaps this was just all civilizations at the time, the passage of time was marked by duration more than specific dates.
It was how long ago other things happened.
Or how long from now it will happen. Oh. Like in 70 years from now, not in such and such a year. Those kinds of things. I think those kinds of predictions, prophecies, were made and fulfilled.
Right.
But there's also a sense throughout Scripture, and the easiest way to say it, which sounds really reductive, I suppose, is calling it multiple fulfillment, where a prophecy has not just in its sort of how you would say what that prophecy is about, has a specific result. And then that same specific result happens again another time, as much as that prophecy has elements or pictures that get revealed repeatedly in different ways that you realize are point back. We do that in storytelling, right? In story writing.
Right.
It's not even, at its core, it's foreshadowing. But you might have like, oh, that actually foreshadowed this thing that happened halfway through my story, and he was foreshadowing this that happened in the next book.
Right.
Dang.
So it wasn't so much to be continued, it's next time on.
Well, sure. But so that idea of that kind of multiple fulfillment or multiple foreshadowing existed in the Bible. Some of what happened in the life of Christ that fulfilled prophecy is also about when he comes back. And we'll even say that. You can see like there's going to be multiple patterns, things that happen in his life that we're going to have a mirror of in a different type when he comes on the second time.
Right.
So, I guess we've veered a little ways.
I'm here for that.
From that. But I would say part of the Bible's description about the end is the not knowing when it will be.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of passages in the New Testament that talk especially about it's going to come like a thief in the night. You may have heard that before, the saying that's in multiple places. If you knew when it was coming, you'd be sitting there with a gun in your hand.
Right.
Well, if I knew that 13-year-old was going to steal my sister's car from my driveway, we wouldn't have ate in the back on the patio.
I don't know that I follow.
My sister's car got stolen out from in front of us on Memorial Day weekend a year and a half ago. Yeah, the Kia Boys.
Kia Boys. Have we talked about the Kia Boys?
I think so. I don't know. Maybe not. It was more than a year ago. But anyway, if we knew that was going to happen, what?
It's just a funny. I love this podcast.
Yeah. So anyway, if we knew that was going to happen, we'd have been eating in the front.
Sure.
So that's part of it is, my faith is about being ready. Sorry about that.
Whoa, party foul.
My faith is about being ready for whenever it happens.
Yep.
Because if I knew it wasn't going to happen until 2055 or whatever,
it's true.
Then the way I would live up until that time would be entirely different.
Mm-hmm.
Did that?
Yeah, definitely. And this is a decent enough segue. Again, remind a person who's not super well versed.
The year is 2026.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, is that what we were reminding them?
Yep, I think so.
So 2059 is exactly 28 years from now, whatever.
20. Who cares?
Keep going. I digress.
Let's talk about Revelation.
Sweet.
Right? Okay. First of all, there is a handful of denominations that go, that Revelation stuff was just, that was supposing.
Okay.
First of all, where do you fall on that? Is that
supposing what?
That it was so far removed from the original text of the Bible. I mean, hundreds of years, right? Like 600 to 1,000 years, something like that? No?
It was in the lifetime of John. John was the one that wrote the book of Revelation. Interesting.
What is the one? Oh, this is maybe dumb. Am I thinking Enoch? There was one that was like hundreds of years.
So
maybe help me find it. If that's not true.
It's not Revelation.
Internet. I'm pulling the robots.
It's probably not Revelation.
Probably not. But was there a book that was written hundreds of years after and is now included in many Bibles?
Not that I know of.
Interesting. What is the book
of the Bible that was written at the latest date?
Was written later. Wait. At the latest date. Book of Revelation. It's generally considered the latest book in the Bible to be written, dated by most scholars to be around 90 to 95 AD during the persecution under Emperor.
So you're talking 60 to 70 years after the death of Christ.
Okay, so it was written. Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, yeah. That was my answer.
There is,
but it's to be taken as literally as the rest, is what you would agree. As the rest of the Bible.
John defines it in there as a vision he was having.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so like we're not confused about it being definitely symbolic, definitely futuristic, apocalyptic. Right. He's saying, hey, this is the vision I had.
Right. Now,
this is what was revealed to me.
Maybe I'm getting hung up on semantics here, but they're in that vision. The words he had said at the time was something, I feel like I remember this from like a youth group thing that we had. And I feel like I remember, this name isn't relevant to anybody else, Bob talking about this. Mm-hmm. Something about trees flying through the air.
Flying through the air?
Am I wrong here?
Like angels with wings that look like trees?
No, but the interpretation was they weren't trees, they were missiles. We just didn't have an understanding of what that was at that time.
So what he may have been talking about, I don't want to put words in Bob's mouth.
Yep.
Through different periods, especially of modern Christianity, like in the last 100 years, 150 years even, the things that some people have been willing to say, oh, that must be this.
You're great at segueing what's in my notes, but keep going.
Could be there.
Yeah.
And definitely from what I know about Bob too, he may have been telling you there's people who say that as opposed to him saying, I'm saying that.
Sure.
Sure. So I love Bible trivia.
Yeah.
I think it's fun. We can play later if you want.
I was just going to say, I'm hosting trivia tonight.
I know. Can't wait.
It ain't Bible trivia.
There was a question. This might sometimes cross lines.
Yeah. Hit me.
Like
crossing a red line?
What?
Or I thought you were saying this might cross a red line here.
Like hopefully nobody watching this podcast thinks I'm therefore cheating at trivia.
Oh, no.
Later.
Yeah.
But there was a Bible question like 2 weeks ago at trivia.
Yep.
We nailed it.
I bet you did.
Yeah, we did. I don't know. And it was very, very easy, but some of the groups did not get it. And I was like, oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Nailed it. I finally had a category I was good at, right? Like
you even placed last time.
I didn't.
Your team placed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm definitely not the brightest bulb on the strand over in that table.
Sure.
But I got that one right.
Yep.
Because it was about the Bible. But anyway, okay, moving on. Revelation. Hang on.
Unacceptable.
Excuse me.
Cut that.
Sorry for coughing. One of the Bible trivia games I have the categories, you're picturing Trivial Pursuit.
Okay.
Okay, right? There's these different categories: geography, history, arts and entertainment, whatever.
Right.
The categories in the Bible trivia were like New Testament, Old Testament, prophecy,
Ooh.
numbers, symbols, and letters, which is basically prophecy.
Right.
And then it was like...
Is Numbers about numbers or the book of Numbers?
The category was about significant numbers from the Bible.
I see.
Anyway, it was basically all prophecy.
It's this peach vibe that's catching up.
That's good.
Yeah.
It is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's delicious. It's not so much what it does to your taste buds as much as it does to your bloodstream.
We'll see.
So,
anyway,
bouncing off the wall.
So there was a lot of talk about prophecy in different segments of American history recently.
Mm-hmm.
And there would be questions like, in what year, this is in the Bible trivia game, not in the Bible.
Sure.
In what year will Gog and Magog, which are mentioned as enemy nations in the book of Revelation,
okay,
will Gog and Magog, and then on the card, it's like parentheses, Russia, attack, blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
I see.
You can't know
so they're
that.
But that's interesting to me. So
there were definitely segments who were like, oh, we understand what this is talking about. They're applying that content from the book of Revelation to their current experience,
right?
Which is not terrible to be looking for that in general. But to say this must be what this means is definitely risky.
Newer editions of the Bible are doing just that,
like
right?
What?
As new editions come out, there is a refining of, well, now that the English language has evolved a little bit, this is what they meant, right? So there is an interpretation of an interpretation of an interpretation of the story.
Yeah, all translation is interpretation. You're definitely right about that.
Right.
I would say they're going the wrong... Your example maybe is the opposite direction. They're not trying to say, now we think this means this. What they're saying is, we still know what it means in Hebrew and Greek. Mm-hmm. The word that best now in English imparts that idea has changed.
Now,
do you see what I mean? The difference there?
I do, which is
because they're not supposing that the Hebrew and the Greek has changed. They're saying how we explain that concept
in the English language.
In English now,
okay,
compared to in English in the 60s, is different. This
may be a yes or no question,
sure.
And if that's too vague or broad, whatever the proper word would be here. This isn't Greek or Hebrew here. This is just English.
And I don't know Greek or Hebrew. Just
Great.
So we know.
Well, here we go. Yes or no? Does the Bible include parables? Right? Or is it is all literal? This is a genuine question.
No, yeah. Parables.
Okay. If it is not explicitly stated, the following sentence is a parable, how do theologians, how does anybody new to the faith or current in the faith know what is actually true and what's like he didn't actually mean that. What he was doing is he was maybe more like analogizing. It was giving an analogy for this. How do we know what is parable and what is truth if it does not explicitly say this is exactly what he meant?
Yeah, that's a great question. In addition to Bible translation being about interpretation, there's absolutely a fair amount about faith that has to be about interpretation because we are trying to interpret the teachings of a variety of people. It's not just Christ that did teaching in the New Testament. Though the word parable in particular is a little bit easier to find and say, oh, this is or this isn't.
Okay. But there's a fair amount in there that...
In the sense that when there are people who are doing different segments of teaching, okay, we've done it on the podcast where we're going to tell an example about something that we both know and even the audience knows. That was an example made up on the spot to help instruct. My arm getting off in the car accident. Right. That is a parable.
Unless you're just listening to the audio version. In which
that's
case
why you always
that's
why you always write a note.
You write a note, you watch the video version. Anyways.
No, you always write a note.
As in you?
No, that's the thing with a guy with no arm. I'm thinking.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
That's so funny, and it will be funny to somebody who's watching this. And maybe in like 10 or 15 years,
cutting my audience,
15
please.
years from now, you will watch the thing I'm talking about and be like, I can't believe Fig knew about that.
Wow.
In the best possible way.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's
brother.
fine.
I can't wait to go back in 15
always
years.
Write a note.
If you're to get your arm lobbed off?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
No, that's what might happen to you if you don't write a note.
Oh.
Yeah, you never know.
Man, I'm going to have to...
Okay, enough about that. That was a parable and everybody knew it.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
You'd hope.
So there's times in the Bible where that's what's happening too, right? Like Christ is talking to a group of people, and he launches into a story.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty obvious from the context.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to, like, really wonder, was he just telling me a story right there? No, he absolutely was just telling me a story right there. Because a lot of times he'll also then tell you what he's trying to teach you from the story he's telling you. He tells you the lesson too. Now, sometimes that happened just to the disciples, it says in the text. The disciples are like, we didn't get that.
Right.
And he'll be like, let me tell you. You know? Well, then he's telling you, I'm about to just tell you. You can understand from the context. Oh, they didn't get that parable either. And he's going to explain it to them. And now that means he's explained it to me. Now I understand the parable because I heard him explain it, the meaning. Or, like we were talking about with Revelation, there's times where the author is telling you, this is a vision I had. You know, we don't have to be confused about, but was there a dragon waiting to eat a baby? What? Did that really happen? Well, no, he's telling you this is a dream he had. So I am told by the author that is imagery, that is a vision, that's a dream.
If given the dreaming portion of this, and we're saying that Revelations was based in vision, is all of Revelation to be taken literally as the what will happen? Or is this more like a, if we don't change things, whatever? Or is Revelations the parable? Like, where do you draw the line when it's not explicit?
Might be a better word for what you're saying instead of parable. Because parable is a teaching tool. Yeah, an allegory would be like a story that was written or described that has got real parallels to a situation I'm trying to teach you about or whatever.
Right.
I guess that's a parable too on a small scale. Anyway, enough about that. That was fun.
Sure.
Yeah, you have to interpret Revelation not as fact.
Okay.
Because it is about the future per the author is saying that. Like, these are events that will take. This is what I saw concerning the end of times. But there's also, it's weird. We talked about that multiple fulfillment. There's also elements in there that are talking about things past. It's like symbolism that's a deep cut, is how you would say it these days.
Sure.
You know, God's the master of a callback joke or a deep cut, whatever.
Everybody knows God's got a great sense of literary humor.
Well, you know, like, and it's everywhere in the Bible.
Sure.
Okay. So can you think of the famous king from the Bible that Jesus was a descendant of, famously?
Caesar?
No. It wasn't Caesar. Jesus is not a descendant.
Jesus was at the time of Caesar. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. So King David.
I thought that's what you were asking.
Your name also, David.
Not Dave. You hear me?
Are there people that call you Dave?
All the time, and it drives me up a wall.
Oh, well,
go ahead.
All right.
Sorry. Don't call me
There's
Dave.
nothing much shorter than Fig for Fig. So no one's calling me like...
I would like to make sure that I address the audience here, and I say, I did not think that Jesus was a descendant of Caesar. I thought you were saying he descended from the time, it came from the time of Caesar.
Yeah, I meant descendant of.
Which is exactly what you said, and I should have.
It's okay.
It wasn't a parable, you were being literal.
I just pressed on. That was fine.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so King David.
Yes.
Okay, long time before Christ.
You hear that? That's my elbow.
Don't do that to your ligaments.
I'm going to keep doing that, but go ahead.
Weirdo.
I didn't mean to do that.
So, okay, here's your deep cut example.
Okay.
The prophet that led the way for Jesus, his relative cousin, we would say, though probably not first cousin like we use the word cousin now, John the Baptist.
Yes.
It's Jesus' relative. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Correct. This is just a quick... Was there a subsect of Jews at the time who thought that he was the prophet?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of them were following him, and he was saying, but I'm not.
Okay. Like
he wasn't saying, John the Baptist wasn't saying he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in fact, some of John's disciples, after John said, this is it, this guy, they were like, oh. And then they started following Jesus instead.
I see.
There's in The Chosen, which is a television show that they've been making recently concerning the disciples. And so they have a character there, Philip, who is one of the disciples, who they say had been a disciple of John. I think we know he was aware of John, perhaps had seen John or been with John. I don't know that the Bible specifically says he was a disciple of John, but either way, Chosen kind of picks up on that and says, we're going to build that into his story. So the show, The Chosen, is sort of building more story around the disciples than we necessarily know to be fact.
The spin-offs.
Kind of. Yeah. They're trying to make it, they're trying to fill in the details to continue to make it a fuller story. I know it seems like that show is about Christ, and I'm not saying he's not a character in the show.
Well, and isn't
but it's
that
called The Chosen. It's about the disciples and their lives.
Now, this is maybe a dumb
but I've
question.
only seen the first couple seasons.
You're not a writer. You're not a producer
Sure.
on the show. Are they trying to say this is probably what happened? Or are they saying this is fiction?
They're saying this is... They have a term for it. They actually address it, like, at the beginning, like, this is what we're trying to do with this. I forget what they call it. It was fascinating to me. Like, the closest thing I can think of, and I'm sure it's not this, because it just sounds weird to say it this way, is like emotional truth of like, we're trying to show you what it could have been like.
I see.
You know,
now,
and we know we're filling in gaps. So they're like, maybe don't send us mail about that. Like, we know.
Is that not...
There's like a disclaimer.
Is that not kind of what like the church, the Big C church, has been doing for hundreds of years? Is being like, listen, we know that we're not grasping at straws, but like we're trying to fill out the story here. Is there not some fear that there's like a degree of separation, like parallel lines, right? Like you one degree off, and for a long time they're going to be the same, but eventually that, like, is there not fear that like the church has gotten 1 degree of separation since the
There's certainly fear about that. Look at the Protestant Reformation.
Go ahead.
I say we because I'm a Protestant,
right?
Though I wasn't around in the 1500s.
I thought you were Dutch.
Just
kidding. I know. Go ahead.
We can talk about that more. Because a lot of Protestant Reformation stuff originated in what now is the Netherlands, but and that region, that whole region, North Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands,
sure,
like this is where Martin Luther was from.
Right.
He was German,
right?
But anyway, so anyhow, and there were people within the church saying, I kind of think we accidentally deviated here.
Yeah,
we should course correct a little bit. Now there was a lot going on at the time. But it was a little bit easier, I think, for the church to be like, yeah, you might be right, but if we just kill you, then we don't have to deal with it. Not wrong.
Well,
I mean, wrong according to the Bible, but I'm saying
it is immoral.
I can picture,
but not incorrect.
I can picture people thinking that at that
time
the
logic,
period.
Right.
Yeah, I can follow that logic.
I mean, isn't that kind of why they killed Jesus to begin with? Because they're like, that's not what we said. That's not the only
reason.
Well, that's one of the reasons, right? It's like you said that you were the prophet. We know that's not true, so it's just easier to kill you than you lead us astray.
Yeah. But so anyhow. So yes, there's certainly a risk or a danger or a reality that over time, especially,
that's a snowball effect.
The church will go. Yeah. And so from within the church, people have constantly been trying to course correct that and make sure. That's why you have things now where we're not basing theology just based on an English translation from a couple hundred years ago of the text. We're like, boy, we better double check what our Hebrew and Greek are.
I'm really glad you're saying this because this is a very important point of my notes.
Great.
If this is not true, I would love for you to correct me.
I'll do my best.
I would say my assumption as a secular person, I say secular, interchangeable with whatever, the word agnostic.
I get you.
A person who is not a Christian. Is that, call it an assumption, call it a, whatever, an accusation, I don't think. But Christians, at least in the limelight, are not doing a good enough job of saying, it's like there's sort of like a confirmation bias, right? Where like what is in this book is the truth, and therefore everything has to fit factually around what is in this book, rather than saying we need to do our best to disprove what's in this so that we know if we cross-reference it and it comes up as true, that means the book is right. The book should. It would make sense that with a growing understanding of the English language, well, whatever, as language evolves and our understanding of how the world works, that like the facts on the ground would likely be changing if we were like trying to disprove some of the stuff in the Bible, right?
Yeah, I would say probably they're not going to say we're going to work really hard to disprove. I think what they're going to do, they're going down the same path you're saying. They just wouldn't call it that.
Sure.
They would work towards making sure that our translation is as accurate as it can be.
Right.
That we can have confidence in how we're interpreting the words that were written,
right,
not just for their literal meaning, which is important,
right,
but also the truth they're conveying.
Can I maybe refine again? Unfortunately, the word I'll use is accusation, but
sure,
I'm not trying to.
I get that.
Not malicious accusation. For many Christians, or rather, the outside view of what Christians believe,
sure,
is that what exists in the text is the end, not the truth. So everything that you're building to has to be based on the assumption that what is in this book is true, not starting with the book and then expanding outward from there. It's like if it does not say so explicitly in here, then it can't be true because it doesn't lead to revelation. It doesn't lead to the existence or the Christ rising. It's like it has to fit this, or it's not true. Not we start here and then we see what happened. Like for real.
Yeah. So
maybe I'm not wording that right, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say.
I think so, or I'll take a stab at it at least. I think.
You know who else got a stab taken at him? Caesar.
He did.
Go ahead.
Wasn't it on? They maybe had to wait for the Ides of March in order to do that.
Probably.
Yeah.
According to this.
Mr. Mars.
Yep. Mr. Mars. Bruno?
No, that's.
I know.
Bruno's dad is called Mr. Mars.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so don't call him Brune.
That's right.
Because he won't answer.
Anyhow, I think that there is a. Okay. Here comes a parable.
Hit me. Or
maybe,
is it an allegory?
Maybe just an example.
Okay.
On a basketball I don't know why I always go to. I know nothing about like exercise.
You're in good company.
Sports or whatever. Okay, but it just seems to make sense to me. On a basketball team, some people are good at shooting.
Okay.
I'm going to say.
Probably.
And some people are probably less good at shooting, more good at
rebounds,
ball handling. Yeah, okay. Being super tall.
Sure.
So they can rebound or whatever. Okay.
Yep. This was the Jordan, who's the guy who went to North Korea? What's his name? Dennis Rodman combo. Go ahead.
Yeah. So when you are running down the court with the ball, you either want to throw it to the guy who's got a good shot of making the shot, or have the guy have it who's got the best shot of making the free throw when he gets fouled or whatever. There's got to be some strategy there.
Right.
You throw the ball to the person for that situation, and it takes a lot of different kinds of. You can't all have Michael Jordan.
Sure.
Maybe you could. He was pretty good.
Yeah.
But in general, you can't have just one kind of person on a team and expect that your team's going to perform well.
Right.
In a sport.
Are you? Well, never mind. I'm not going to get
in the Christian zone. I think you have some people who are more theology, biblical interpretation. They're minded on that side, and that's an important role on our team. Mm-hmm. I think you got a lot of people who are just on the team who are like, I'm just kind of running laps here.
Right.
Like, there's other people who will do that. So I would say the vast majority of Christians aren't doing the thing you're saying, not because they think that that's not valuable. They just recognize that's kind of not their jam right now.
Well, it's also, there's this, sorry, if I cut you off, go ahead.
No, I just mean, and then I think what's been happening, especially in the last, we'll call it 10 years in the U.S., or it's been longer, but
definitely
you have people who are in that whole, I'm just kind of here to jog the laps or whatever.
Yep.
And I'm not being negative on that, but they're all of a sudden starting to make like grand claims about, well, the Bible says this, so we gotta like kill that guy or whatever. Right. And like that's bogus.
Thank you for saying that.
But I don't think that it is. I don't think it is in general a problem that not every single Christian has a theology doctorate. Like
not
that's
should.
Never going to happen.
I love science and philosophy, but I'm not a scientist or a philosopher.
That's right.
Right.
But I also don't think the Bible, even in my study of it, because I have read it a lot of times, it's not even saying that. It's not even saying like the be all end all Christian is the person who learns Hebrew and Greek and blah, blah, blah. Like that's not even an expectation it's placing on Christians.
Right.
So they're not doing anything wrong by not being that guy. But they've sort of, I think, been, by our culture in particular, sort of amped up into thinking they are that guy.
But
their study and opinion, all of a sudden, they better make a claim about something.
But you, as a person who has read the Bible many times, who has been in the church since you were born, yeah, most of your worldview is based around the original text, the original sin that everything started with.
Yeah,
Adam
trying.
So what I fear, what many people fear, and I'm not a representative of all non-Christians, and you're not a representative of all Christians.
I get that.
We're just two dudes trying to talk about something. Much of the interpretation of Christian life, or much of the way that Christians are told, maybe that's not the right word, expected to live their life, is based on the fact that everything started with Adam and Eve, and therefore anything else that exists outside of that can't be true if it can't be traced back to Adam and Eve. Where realistically,
like aliens.
like,
for example.
You see, I would love to say not like aliens, like dinosaurs. I understand. Well, okay. Maybe this is too big of a tangent. And again, the goal is still to keep this under an hour and a half. And we're about
What are we at?
An hour.
How do you know that?
Because I can see it right there.
59
minutes.
Enough.
How do you feel about, look at you.
Yeah, look at
How
me.
do you feel about the term Christian apologetics?
Yeah, so I mean, what that is simply helping people to understand why a particular belief has its origin in the Bible in general and not just a thing we do. Well,
it's, again, as an outsider's view, Christian apologetics is like, yeah, I know the facts on the ground, like about evolution, like that there's a growing understanding of evolution. That's neat. We've got an answer for that.
Sure.
But that it always comes back to, we've got an answer for that. And that we've got an answer for that can sometimes be based in allegory or parables.
Sure, I see what you're saying.
That makes me very uncomfortable with recognizing or with accepting that the words in the Bible are fact, and more just like, this is a nice how-to to live a good, meaningful life. And that is not all
I certainly think the Bible is more than a nice how-to, just better say that. But I hear what you're saying. Think about it also like this. Let's try another one. We'll just keep going with examples.
Hit me.
I have I would say, notable dress code at my house.
Sure.
Okay.
Am I breaking that in a V-neck? No. Okay.
But I have teenage girls.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I have an expectation about what they wear in public.
Sure.
That expectation is, this sounds really terrible, I guess, to be saying on a recording.
Well, not if you believe it.
Less, like their pajamas here.
Sure.
Okay. I don't care if they wear those things as pajamas.
Sure.
In our house with us.
Sure.
But I wouldn't want them wearing that to the store or school.
Sure.
Or whatever. They don't have weird pajamas. That's why I thought maybe
Sure.
I shouldn't say that one. But like, I understand that I have a sort of a different zone for like going in public.
Sure. As
just being here. If you were coming over, like you're here in my own house right now, it's my expectation that my girls not be wearing their pajamas. Just in general.
I get it.
Okay. My idea of what's appropriate for them to wear in public, or for pajamas for that matter, might be different than another person, a Christian or non-Christian, level of what is appropriate. And there's cultural implication there. This is why they think that or not. But we generally all have an idea that, like what you wear in public does matter. And there are some rules there.
Sure.
Okay. I think the Bible is similarly like, there are some real things here that are like a rule, and this matters.
Yeah.
But a little bit you have also some room for, this is how you practice your faith. For example, Jeremiah, okay? Prophet in the Old Testament. Great. He was a bullfrog or something.
I'm not sure.
But anyway, there's Jeremiah 35, maybe even, is the chapter if people are feeling like they really want to, whatever.
We can do this in real time. I am my own producer.
There was a family, okay? And it was their position of
the Rechabites?
As a family. Yeah, the Rechabites.
Okay.
Is it Jeremiah 35?
Sure is.
Super. It was
Nerd.
Me? Yeah, sorry. It was their position as a family that they weren't going to drink wine.
Okay.
A prophet in this passage, Jeremiah, is told by God, I believe, hey, why don't you invite that family over for a meeting, like the representatives of this family, okay? And as is perhaps or was their custom at the time, you're going to offer them some wine when they come in there, okay? Like not in a weird way, but like, because the prophet didn't know, Prophet Jeremiah didn't know about this sort of family restriction that they weren't going to drink wine. They come in there like, hey, and I'm definitely paraphrasing here. They come in and they're like, hey, thanks for the invite. And he's like, here, have some wine. And they're like, yeah, we're just not going to do that because our ancestor said, you know what? You shouldn't do that. Okay. That family is praised not because they didn't drink wine, but because they stuck to their guns. That was like a family choice, and they're honoring their ancestor, their patriarch of their family, who said, that's just not going to be our thing.
Sure.
And so they lived that way. That didn't earn them salvation. That did not earn them a place in the Jewish community to do that one way or the other. That was a way they were living out their life.
My computer's dying.
That seemed important to that patriarch and that they honored. That's like, say, my we'll go back to the modesty one, right? Like, or the what you're going to wear in public thing.
Right.
That's maybe my family, as a patriarch expectation. That's not a faith. Like, it is a faith issue. That is not something that's going to lead my children to salvation, or if they do that, they will be saved. And I'm not even claiming that it is.
Well, to be fair, there is also some, this is maybe a dumb interpretation. I know that this is included in the parables allegory thing,
Sure.
right? So you tell your kids that you can't go out in pajamas or whatever. This is where I think Christian apologetics, they have a decent take on it. It's sort of like the mixed fiber thing, right?
Sure.
Like, you're not supposed to. Do you know the specific
ratio, the percentage of polyester I'm allowed to have in my clothing?
Well, it's more. Can you more just break down what they meant there? Do you have a take on that?
Great question.
Or can you quote what I'm talking about?
Or I can't quote it, but I can vaguely. Yeah. I understand what you're talking about. Yeah. The reference you're making from Leviticus. There's also stuff in there about like not eating a goat that's cooked in its mother's milk, and so you can't have a cheeseburger because if it's meat and dairy, then that's probably a no, and that must be what that meant. Yeah, so there's things like food laws, clothing laws, etc., which were a thing for that community at that time. Mm-hmm. There are elements of those things helping to separate them from the communities they were by. You know, we're doing this thing not because we're trying to stand out, but we're trying to stand aside of what is around us. Mm-hmm. This helps me identify not with this other particular group of people that's living also in this land we're trying to live in, who have other practices that are detestable.
Right.
You know, so that's part of separating from a cultural norm that could lead to the kind of activity that would be against God's word. Now, I think a lot of times we give the Levitical law, we just thumb our nose at it and say, well, that's a bunch of crap. Why would we do that?
Who's we?
Like the world.
Including Christians?
Some Christians.
Your Reformed sect?
Some would say, yes, I'm going to still eat a cheeseburger. I eat cheeseburgers.
You eat cheeseburgers.
There's a group of Christians that definitely say, let's play it safe and obey those laws anyway, just in case, which I honor that. I think that's good for them. Like, that's great that they're like, why risk it?
Yeah, but you can take that to a really dangerous extreme.
I agree.
As in like
I still
stoning
eat
people to death for.
I get that.
That like I know. As long as you recognize that to be
I do.
Like, unfortunately, there are things, and this is again where it's like, to what degree is this text to be taken literally?
Right.
When to some fundamentalists that means I can literally kill you because you disagree with my take on the text.
Mm-hmm. So here's how I live my life to answer the question. I'll just cut to the end of it. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm not a Jew.
Shocking.
I know.
He's pretty Dutch.
I'm pretty tall. That was maybe mean, but no. I was trying to imply that I was Dutch.
Bro, I can't wait. There's a fun story I want to tell you off the air. It has nothing to do with being off the air. It's not relevant to the conversation. Great. Remind me about Dutch people, which I'm sure you will because I'm in your house.
You know why Dutch people have such big noses?
Gosh, what is the...
Because air is free. Did you know?
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, that's good. Anyway, okay, moving on. So I'm not Jewish.
Okay.
And so I am thankful that not just in the New Testament, but even in the Old Testament, God talks about a blessing to non-Jews coming through the Jews. Mm-hmm. That's a biblical theme. And in the New Testament, they start sharing about the sacrifice of Christ on the cross and saying, God's been telling us this is not just for Jews. Mm-hmm. Jesus didn't just die for Jews. He died for Gentiles too.
But Jews are God's chosen people.
Yes, in the Bible for sure. Mm-hmm. And that is opened to non-Jews in the New Testament.
Just acknowledging for my own sake that this is another... it is... Sorry, say what you just said again, because I maybe stepped on your toes.
The salvation of Christ is open to non-Jews. Definitely.
And it says that
in the New
Testament.
Text. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Most definitely.
Okay.
Yep. Now, at first, the Jews didn't all go for that.
Right.
Yeah, so there was persecution, even Jews to Christians, even though some Jews became what we would now call a Christian. They didn't call it that.
Right.
You know, there's some debate. Did Paul ever become a Christian? He was a Jew first, persecuting Jews who were believing that. He later realized Jesus Christ was real, and that's who he was persecuting. And Jesus Christ was the fulfillment of the Jewish prophecies of the Messiah, and he should believe that. So people wonder if in Paul's mind he became a Christian, or if he was like, no, but I'm just being still a Jew.
Right.
This is the pathway of all Jews. We should all be doing this, Jews. Why don't you come along for the ride?
New Jews.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't call it new Jews, but whatever.
They might have.
They might have. They might have. But anyhow, either way, but the Jews were not always receptive to that.
Yeah.
And Paul ended up saying, if the Jews aren't going to hear this message, then I'm going to follow the leading of Christ and bring that message to others. Then there was a whole bunch of Jews who had become what we would now call Christians, who were like, yeah, but how can they be Christian? How can they believe in the Jewish Messiah when they're not doing all the things like we're doing from Leviticus to be God's people in the first place? Ought we not make them not wear clothes that are polyester and cotton? Mm-hmm. Ought we make them not boil that goat in or boil that goat in its mother's milk? And they were like, boy, we don't know. Let's get together and have a meeting about that. And they did. And this is what they determined, and I should look it up so I don't miss everything. You know what? We understand that these laws were important for our historical community, but we're not going to make the new believers, the Gentiles, have to go through all those things just to get to the salvation of Christ. Christ's salvation is for them as they are, with a couple of things they ought to not do.
Right.
They ought to not eat meat that's been sacrificed to a false idol.
Okay.
That was kind of a big thing apparently at the time.
Are we getting into 10 Commandments territory?
No.
I mean, I know they're different, but I mean, like, they're similar.
There's only 3.
There's a bunch of things you should... Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, there's only 3. So it was like, you ought not to... When someone says, hey, we're having this meal, we already sacrificed it to this God, you shouldn't be like, sweet, cut me a slice. You'd be like, whoa, I don't know about that. I'm going to just abstain for now.
Sure.
Okay. And then along with that, it's similar, but it's distinct, is not eating blood. Like when you do kill an animal, it should be drained of its blood rather than like, there's like tribes in Africa right now that do bloodletting and all this kind of stuff. I don't know if that's what they're talking about exactly.
We were doing bloodletting on people for like until like the 80s.
Yeah, but we weren't eating it. In Africa, yeah, you're right. Thanks. That was weird.
Yeah.
And then
I wasn't either, just to be clear.
Yeah,
that was not what that some people
Are you
were.
Sure? Time for some apologetics. And then the third one was sexual immorality.
Sure.
So they did make a claim and say but there are some things you should do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But all the rest of that, we understand that is for our people. Mm-hmm. So for me, I don't.
Careful on the mic. Okay. That's the first time you've done it since then. Yep.
I don't have an issue eating a cheeseburger. Okay. But I'm careful to not eat meat sacrificed to an idol.
Okay.
And I know that it's not taking place now the same way as it was during the Bible times. Like I recognize that. Okay. But I'm also careful about my opinion on sexual morality. Mm-hmm. Because although, yes, some of the Bible laws on that go back to Leviticus, it is something that at the time of the early church, the church leaders who got together and said, we don't know, let's seek the scriptures and the Holy Spirit's advice on this. This was their conclusion. Mm-hmm. I feel like I better try and honor that. Sure. So I am careful on that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I'm trying to raise my children to be careful on that kind of stuff too.
This, I think, leads pretty well into my last couple of notes.
Excuse me.
And this is not to ask for specifics if the answer is yes. But when you read the text as it is, and this is not asking questions about doubt necessarily.
Sure.
Even in just a general sense, would you say that you still to this day, occasionally, not more often than not, but if ever, have crises of faith? And like more, because again, starting all the way back, a lot of this is just two dudes having a conversation about stuff we're not 100% sure about, but that we feel strongly about. This is a creative exercise to counteract it's part of God's plan that I don't necessarily understand, but I'd like to have a conversation about it. I'm not saying, do you ever think you're wrong, but do you ever think you might be getting something wrong?
Sure. I mean, I wouldn't call what I experience a crisis of faith.
Okay.
Here's a debate that happens in my current Christian circles. Mm-hmm. Okay. Maybe not the people I see every Sunday, but generally in America today. Mm-hmm. Okay. there's a large camp of people who believe that a person should not be baptized as a child.
Not Catholics.
Okay. Then there is a large segment of believers who think that's totally fine.
Yep.
There are different, I'm sure, arrangements in different places where generally people are like, you do you, boo, to quote you from a couple episodes ago.
Hey, he watches.
Occasionally I watch.
Yeah.
No, that sounded mean.
You only watch occasionally.
I watch, but I don't watch every single episode.
That's fine. I hang out with you occasionally.
That's true. But anyway, so that's sort of like an ongoing debate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My denomination and me personally, I have a belief on that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If I get to heaven and find out, or when I get to heaven.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I had this exact conversation with you about 15 years ago.
You're kidding me.
Go ahead.
When I get to heaven, if I find out I was wrong about baptizing babies,
right,
I'd be like, that's too bad.
But your definition of I was wrong would likely just be, in this interpretation, my understanding, if I'm speaking for you, I apologize, God being like, hey, buddy, you didn't need to do all that. Not your expectation would be, oh my gosh, that was such a bad idea. Like, that was...
Sure, because
I've doomed them.
The example that I'm using, I don't think is a doomable zone.
Sure.
Okay, so you're right.
But...
I'm doing it lightheartedly on purpose. With this choice.
Go ahead.
There might be other things in my belief that if I found out I was wrong about that, I would be like, whoa,
right.
What?
I will say again, though.
Here, I'll tell you one. I'll just give you some extra, because we're almost out of time, so we won't have to talk about it. It's perfect.
Oh, great.
If I get to heaven and find out that Adam and Eve were not real, that would blow my mind.
Okay.
Because I think they were real.
Well, and literally the lineage of, like, that leads straight to Jesus.
But I'll tell you why scientifically Adam and Eve can't have been real. Do you want to know about this?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. I can just tell you some cool stuff that I've read about that I think
is... So you're strongmanning the position. You don't believe this.
Believe which?
You're saying I'll give you some scientific...
I think Adam and Eve were real.
Right, but you're playing...
There's some scientific... Yeah, there's some scientific evidence out there to say that the human genetic genome...
Talk about the genome, brother.
Okay.
Gosh.
Could not have started from a single pair of human parents.
Right.
Minimum. Bare minimum.
Right.
70.
You about to Christian apologetics me?
Okay. I'm not.
Okay, cool.
Bare minimum.
I'm open to that. I just...
70.
Yeah.
I will be honest. I can't remember if it was 70 pairs or 70 total. You know, like 35 pairs?
Yes, but it gets to the fused genome, right?
Regardless,
Go ahead, yeah.
It's either 70
Chromosome,
pairs or 70 total. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Can't just be two people or one pair.
Right.
Is what this science says.
Right.
Okay. Now, I didn't read, like, does that mean if you're on the evolution path in general that we had to have had 70 evolutioned chimpanzees that evolved at the same... I don't know.
Sure.
Okay, I don't know.
Sure.
That's not what this is about.
Right.
But scientifically, there can't have been only Adam and Eve, says science.
Okay.
My belief is there was Adam and Eve. I'm also willing to be wrong that God did create the world that we live in by means of divinely inspired or orchestrated, or whatever word you want to put in there, evolution from the history of whatever. That's called old Earth.
Yep.
Okay. I'm a new
You're one of those new Earth guys.
I am. Yep. I'm new Earth. I'm willing to be wrong about that. I'd be willing to be wrong about that in the sense that I trust that God has the power to do it in either way.
Sure.
What is really hard for me in that debate is when people who believe that God brought about where we are now through the means of evolution, will say, and he could not have done it the other way. A little bit I'm like, listen, I think we have to be open to God doing it the way God did it.
Okay.
And
based on the text.
Or science or whatever, but to recognize that his ability to do that is beyond this sounds so 1990s. I don't need to put God in that box. I don't need to put him in and say, this is the way he must have done it.
Is that 90s?
I think so.
God in a box?
Put God in a box?
I didn't see that episode.
Okay, well, is that a show? See, now what's the thing to me? What was that called?
Deep Cut?
I don't know. That's why you always read a note.
I can't wait to figure out what he's talking about.
anyhow, so there's an issue where if I get to heaven and I find I'm wrong on that one, I'd be like, whoa, I'd be really surprised by that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I don't think, this is just my belief, I don't think God needs to make that overly complicated. And I don't think God needs to shield me from the truth of evolution if I can understand it in my brain now. It's not like I couldn't understand it in my brain when he presented his word to his people. He could have just said, hey, here's what happened when I made the world, and told us it that way. That wasn't like beyond people's minds to comprehend at the time.
But, and I'm sorry that I'm...
No, you're good.
I'm not... I clearly can't change your faith. This is more just like to poke holes so I can understand what your take is. If it was written, that means that was God's word to someone else who wrote that down, who told you, and therefore you take their word.
Yeah, I'm going to make it worse for me. Also, a lot of what I believe God told people, they passed on verbally.
Right.
First.
This is the parallel lines thing.
Yeah.
By 1 degree.
Yep. So I'm giving you a little more.
Right.
Yeah.
Listen,
that does not change my confidence in what has come out through God's word. Because I think that the things that have been translated to me in the what we'll call the main lane are still translated through correctly. I am not worried about that.
This leads to my final point. It doesn't lead to my final point, but I'm going to make my final point here. This is more a note here. And there's so many other things that I wrote down that I wanted to get to. That is fine.
We should have done a double.
I mean, we can do another one another time. You're welcome back.
Mondays are great days. You're welcome back here.
Good. I like the backdrop. It's aesthetically pleasing.
Sweet.
And if you're watching the video version,
I'd love if you would put it on record that also I'm aesthetically pleasing. I'm just kidding.
The video version will.
Come on.
Anyways,
this is a nice shirt. My
it is
wife
a nice
got
shirt.
this shirt for me. I'm wearing it a little more buttoned up than
I
usual
made him button it up because
microphone.
it was
because you wanted me to look like a straw man pastor or whatever.
That's right. That's right. Straw man, not strong man.
You know, I was trying to figure out how to work it in there. just to help you out.
Will you strong bad this for me, please?
I'll tell you something after about strong bad. But
okay,
anyway,
I can't wait.
Okay.
So final question has not a whole lot to do with other people. Well, sort of. It has more to do with me, right? I would put myself in the camp of people who would say that they, even though they weren't, I certainly called myself a Christian. I would say even other people called me a Christian. And given just whatever words that are popular and fun to use at this point now, I quote unquote deconstructed, right? I don't know that I was constructed fully, but I was in it. I was playing the game. Maybe that's even a worse way to say that. I don't. Anyways, first and foremost, and then I'll get to like more of the specific quote here. There is a group of people, and I wonder if you would consider yourself among those who say that if you fall out of the faith, you were never really in the faith to begin with. Where do you put yourself on that spectrum? Because essentially, like if you believe in Jesus Christ and you are no longer a Christian, well, then you never really accepted Jesus fully to begin with. Baseline, is that true?
There are definitely circles in the church that would say that.
Are you in that circle?
It's hard for me to know. I would say denominationally, I definitely am in that circle. Okay. Is that the way that my personal belief goes on that? I'm not sure.
Okay, that's fine.
My brain in what I read from the Bible easily gets me there, and I don't feel bad. I wouldn't feel bad believing that. Okay.
And I know you, just to make a commentary on you do not, judge is maybe not the right word, but like that doesn't mean, if I'm not a Christian, you love me any less. I'm not saying that like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very confident you know that.
Right. I'm more saying this to the audience who doesn't have the full context.
Sure.
It's not like you love me less now that I don't call myself a Christian than you did when I was a Christian. Unless I'm stepping on your toes here, if you want to make a further point about that. Okay. There is a conversation that was happening in a podcast that I was listening to where someone who had deconstructed was confiding in their or who was going through the process of deconstructing, was confiding in their friend who was still in the faith. And they had not fully, for lack of a better phrase, denounced Christ or the Christian teachings. But they were going through it and they were just looking for someone to bounce this off of. And the person in their life said, listen, my whole life is built around the church. My marriage is rooted in godly marriage, whatever. Again, I'm getting the phrases wrong and I'm maybe summarizing things worse than I should. I raised my kids to be Christian. We go to church. obviously being a Christian is much more than just going to church. But my whole life is rooted in this belief, and it's really working for me. I have it. This is a good life that I've built for myself. I'm scared.
This is what they were saying, or this is what you're saying?
This is what they're saying. I'm scared that you, person who are deconstructing, might be able to convince me, and therefore I need to not be involved in this conversation. I can't talk to you about this because I'm scared you'd convince me. Are they a Christian? In this?
You mean if they could lose it by a conversation, are they
that could be the first thread of the mixed fabric unwinding. That could just be the thing that kickstarts and snowballs a deconstruction. Is the person that fears even having a conversation about the possibility of their worldview maybe not being fundamentally correct, do they fall into the category that we've just discussed about someone who is no longer a Christian, if they're not actually so certain that they're not even willing to entertain that conversation because it could shake them? So are you following me here?
I think so.
I hope so, because I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Should have watched our episode from whenever that was ago.
Who knows?
So if we already talked about this, I'm sorry.
It's great. I talk about things multiple times on the podcast all the time.
Yeah, but not always with the same guest.
That's fine.
Okay.
Most people probably who are watching this didn't see the first episode.
Okay, well, that's okay. Or a shame or whatever, I guess. It doesn't matter.
They've abandoned me.
Here's a thing that I'll just talk about that I think will come back to where we're at.
Great.
Okay. Interesting thought exercise in a modern, we'll say, conservative-ish denomination, church, etc., with youth. Okay. A mom and a 6-month-old child are in a car accident, fatal to the child and the mom. Okay. Does that baby go to heaven?
You think they do, right?
Great question. Do you think I think they do?
I think you do, because I think we've talked about this before.
So,
this is the difference between faith and hope, and I don't know the difference in your view. You hope or have faith that they do.
I have hope that they do.
Great.
I think that the Bible is pretty clear that what it takes to go to heaven is living a perfect life.
Sure.
That Jesus did that.
Living a perfect life.
Yes.
My understanding was accepting Jesus into your heart.
So I'm almost there.
Okay.
Living a perfect life gets you into heaven. That's just how it works. Okay.
But that's not the only way.
Jesus did that.
Yeah, he did. Yep.
Okay. And then offers his reward to me. Okay. That's how salvation works.
Right.
Okay?
I won the lottery.
There's this whole, and maybe this is the wrong
It's fine.
minute to get into this.
This is fine.
Okay.
About an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Try to keep it.
So there's in modern Christianity, a lot of talk. We don't have a works-based salvation.
Right.
Okay. We do have a works-based salvation. The works of Christ.
Sure.
Okay. Now I understand that's semantics and that's just whatever.
That's
but
fine.
Just a good way to think about it. Okay.
Yep.
So then now we go back to the car crash. Not the one-arm one. Yeah.
I didn't know there was a car crash that happened for him. I wasn't paying attention enough. I
lost my arm.
Yeah. I thought
Okay.
No, it was just some accident.
No, it was a car accident. Anyway, did that baby live a perfect life? The way I read the Bible, no. Okay. That even in my conception, I'm infected with the sin that is passed on to me thanks to Adam and Eve.
Yep.
Okay. This is part of why I think Adam and Eve were real.
Right.
Okay. And so that is so crazy to think about then, that this 6-month baby who had nothing to do with this car accident would be damned to hell for eternity. That just is so heartbreaking. And for some people, enough to say, therefore, Christianity just can't be true. This is why I hope, and I have confidence in the character of God based on the fact that he wants to rescue someone like me, who's not 6 months old. Okay.
6 foot tall.
What's that?
6 foot tall. 7 foot
I
tall.
am. Yeah. He's about 6'5", I think.
Okay,
right. Am I?
Yeah. Who knows?
Anyhow, essentially I have no business in being saved in the first place. I'm a lot worse than a 6-month-old baby. Okay. Even though I have tried to live a pretty straight-laced life, I'm still much worse than a 6-month-old baby. And God still wanted to save me, I believe. So I have hope and confidence, actually, not just hope willy-nilly, but great confidence that God's going to do what's right according to God. And I believe that will be having that baby be in heaven. He can put people in heaven.
And there is a distinguishable difference between hope and faith in this context, right?
I think so. Faith might be, this could get weird, I guess. Faith might be the way I would live out that belief. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not going around killing 6-month-old babies just to get them into heaven.
Right.
That might be acting out on faith.
Speed run.
I have it. Yeah, you know, that's, but nobody's suggesting that I've ever encountered.
Sure.
Thankfully. But anyhow, so I think in this context, okay, that I am leaving that up to God, and I'm not going to make that call about that baby, but I have great confidence and hope, and it doesn't keep me up nights because I trust God in there. Okay. About someone whose interview with someone who's deconstructing, saying, I better not press on with this interview on the off chance that I accidentally deconstruct myself or get tempted to do so or whatever.
For what it's worth, it wasn't an interview. It was just a conversation between friends.
Either way.
Yep.
Do I think that person's faith maybe wasn't real because it was shallow enough to be swayed by a simple conversation? I don't think it's that easy. And I think that we got to rely on God's work in that person's life that's outside of that person too. Okay. Let's say you have a friend. Okay. And let's say that friend goes away for work. They live in a different state, like 10 years. They probably get married and divorced in that time. Mm-hmm. Then they end up coming back.
You talking about me?
I am.
Okay. Interesting.
Okay. My love for you as a friend, you're right, existed beyond your circumstance. And I'm so grateful that we talk to each other again, that we've reactivated a level of a relationship that wasn't what it was, and that's okay and whatever. But do you ever think about that my love for you would still be there even if we hadn't reconnected? Do you ever think about that? And so,
brother, we were talking about this before the podcast started. It's the reaching out and talking to each other that makes me wonder if a friendship is real. Maybe that's too broad a brush, and that's all happened before we started rolling. But
man, at first I thought an hour and a half was just going to be way too long. But we're doing okay.
No, it's hard to limit yourself to an hour and a half. We did like 3 hours last time.
That was a riot. But so sometimes the way in which I might love you or another person in that circumstance, it doesn't have to be you.
Sure.
Yeah. You know, you're right. But not reaching out is where that relationship was. And it was great that you reached out to me.
Sure.
I think that was the right next step for where we were at.
Yeah. I agree.
But my love for you was not diminished, even if you never did, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Okay. Our relationship would obviously have been different.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm glad for where we are. And I think that about that person too, and their relationship with God, or you for that matter, or many people in their relationship with God. They have different zones in that relationship. Your interaction, a person's interaction, that person who is in that conversation with the other person who is deconstructing their interaction with God, has that side of it. God's got a whole side of that relationship as well that he's maintaining.
Sure.
And your sort of, that person I'm saying, that person's interaction with someone else or their certain circumstance at a certain time is not, God's not beholden to that. You know, God can maintain that relationship with that person regardless of that person. I can keep on loving a friend of mine I haven't talked to. We got friends that we both don't talk to.
That's right.
That doesn't mean that I don't have love for that person.
That's right.
Regardless of how they treat me, actually.
Even in a weirder view, like it's like if someone who you love literally dies, you don't suddenly go, wow, I don't love them anymore. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, my love reached the limit it was going to reach, and now they're no longer here.
Yeah.
And maybe, I guess, in a weird way, your love can grow for someone who's no longer there because you miss them.
Yeah, your care probably can't grow for them.
Sure. Can I maybe put that into a dumb way to sum up this whole thing?
It might not be dumb.
It's so cool to disagree about something so fundamental like
aliens.
Okay. Oh, no. I don't even know if we disagree. We just, different subjects.
Sorry, I should have just let you keep talking.
No, that's fine. I just mean it's so cool to have a relationship with someone you kind of disagree with about pretty big things. Because this is what I meant about like Christians in the whatever, in the outside perspective, being like, you don't try to disprove your stuff enough, because like you learn a lot about the other side when you talk to them. And even if you're not going to like, this is maybe dumb, I'm not trying to be woo-woo politics here. I don't want to be politics here, but in the view that everybody can understand, because it's such a big conversation right now, Democrats and Republicans, right?
Sure.
They shouldn't be like my side versus your side. It should be like what's the right side? Let's talk about that. And this is really cool for context, that I get to have friends that I disagree with, because like it challenges my beliefs. I don't know that it challenges your beliefs. I'm not saying that you're like on the verge of deconstructing, because you're certainly not.
I am not.
But like it provides context about where people are at, and you don't just like assume that they're a horrible person because they disagree with you about something so fundamental. It's just fun to talk about it. That's why I like podcasting.
Yeah.
It's because you get to talk to people and actually challenge your own belief and maybe reaffirm some of the things that you already believe, just because you get to talk it out. Anyways.
I'm excited that our existent friendship is in the main lane.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not worried.
Sure.
About like losing a friendship with you because of these kinds of conversations.
Right.
And I guess I'm applying that to your previous question. You know, like there's a relationship there and we're going to work it out.
Sure.
You know, we're going to play some board games after this.
Great.
I hope.
I have to pee first. Desperately.
Boy, if you got to pee as long as it takes to play a board game, you got problems.
I have to pee as long as it takes to do an hour and a half podcast. Okay. Well, hey, you got anything else you want to throw at the wall?
I'm so proud and happy to have you in my house.
Thank you.
And though, and I know it's not up to me, but if you're ever doing a drive me somewhere.
Yes. He wants to do a podcast from the road.
I love those old ones. Yeah. I know you haven't done them recently, but I don't mind those. I was like, that's pretty sweet.
If you've made it to the end of the podcast, you'll hear this fun little tidbit. My friend John flies drones, and he had this cool like visual opener that he wanted to do where I'm driving up a road and then he flies a drone behind me, follows the car, and then flies into my open window, which then quote unquote crashes into the passenger seat, where then I cut and take my camera and flip it up and then record the podcast from that angle as if it's the drone that flew into my car.
That's cool.
That's a cool intro that we didn't ever commit to, but I think, man, if I've got a want from the audience for wanting those types of episodes, maybe we do that.
You could have an entire subset of episodes that are drive episodes.
I think so.
You could do like every episode that ends in a 8, or every episode that's a prime number, or every episode that's a whatever is a drive episode.
Maybe every episode that is in somewhere in the United States a legal speed limit.
What?
25 miles an hour? 75.
Oh, you would find that road for episode 75 or episode 20. Well, you missed basically all of them. Well, you got 100 and 110. And
start over. This is episode 98, brother.
I know.
Pretty cool.
But you got plans for 100.
Yeah.
There's got to be speed. Oh, 110 is a speed limit in Canada in kilometers.
Yeah, well, they're wrong.
Well, I don't disagree, but you could still go there to do the 110th episode on the road.
I could. You want to go to Canada?
Maybe. I have a passport. You have to have a passport now, or a real ID.
Enhanced ID.
Yeah, enhanced real ID.
A real ID to fly. But we're driving.
We could. Let's not fly to drive.
You want to fly?
That seems silly.
You want to fly to Canada?
No.
All right. And with that, thank you for joining the A.D.H. Deep Dive, the show that's not about ADHD, but is filled with proof it exists. Fig, love you, brother. Thank you for doing the podcast, and see you next time. Bam!